So our talk today is entitled One Letter at a Time. So when I joined this congregation in the summer of 2020, one of the first things I did was I led a conscious conversation. And our topic was lessons and blessings of the pandemic. We were in the midst of it all then, struggling to manage our lives at a time when life took a turn in a direction that honestly none of us could have even expected. Right? Many of us were resisting what was happening, or at least I could say I was. I would think most of us were in some way. And we were doing our best to try to adapt to all these shocking changes that came upon us so quickly. For those of us who were able, we found that we walked, many of us walked who could. We wandered around our neighborhoods. And when we gathered at this conscious conversation, many people shared similar thoughts about how the birds seemed to sing louder and more beautifully, and that the sky was bluer, and that there was, between the upsetting sirens, there was a quality of peace in the air and everywhere around us. We found ways to connect with each other that solitary, warm summer in ways we did not expect as we walked about this earth wearing our masks. We also, at that year, something else happened. We found our way to move from meeting in person to Zoom. And most of us didn't know anything about Zoom. Right? I was involved in technology, and I really wasn't very versed at it myself. And it was pretty amazing that by that point we had pretty soon become really champion Zoomers. And this did you all become champions? Are you champions now? I think you all do an amazing, you do a great job. And so that was something we also didn't expect. That was a lesson and blessing from the pandemic, that we now are a congregation where I believe, I'm looking online, I know there are many people in New Jersey, but there's people in New York State, possibly Connecticut. We have Pippa, who zooms in from South Africa every other week. We are now, in many ways, a global congregation because that we so welcome and so embrace this. A lesson and a blessing from a difficult time. You know the old saying, people make plans and God laughs. At least people that aren't you people say that. But we humans prepare for life expecting it to be the way exactly really as we anticipated, or else we're not happy a lot of times, right? Then life happens. And more often than not, things don't work out exactly as we plan. But in these challenges, there is lessons and blessings to learn. So I'd like to share with you an experience from my life that really was my intense experience, and I had great learning from this. So this is as the story goes. So it's about 12 years ago when this happened. I was in seminary, and it was my first year. And I knew that I was going to seminary with this one thing in mind. It was not to be a pulpit minister. You all know, we've gone through that speaking in public was not my jam, and I was terrified to speak in public, terrified. So what I wanted to do was offer one-on-one ministry. I wanted to sit with people in end-of-life situations. And that was what I had aspired to do. I wanted to offer them spiritual support, not aligned to a religion. I felt like I had just gone through a whole cancer experience, and that I'm doing fine with now. But, I felt like I had to give back in some way. And I would be at the hospital for, I don't know how many treatments of radiation. So I would be in the company of people so much more ill than me. And I felt like, wow, how fortunate am I, that I was healed. I wanted to give back. And I wanted to give back. I thought people needed someone who would listen to them with an open heart and open ears, not aligned to what they're supposed to say or do, but to be free to say whatever came from their heart. I felt like rabbis and priests might not do that, and relatives might not do that either. So anyway, that was my aspiration. So I signed up to become a spiritual volunteer with Hospice of New Jersey. And I went through hours and hours of training. And I thought, well, this is my opportunity. And it was also, I wasn't ordained yet. I was still in my process of seminary, but we had to do some kind of service. That was our requirement. So off they send me, after I'm done, to an assisted, not an assisted living facility, but a skilled nursing facility in Emerson, New Jersey. And they gave me 5 residents to support. And when I arrived, I found that of the 5 residents, only 1 out of the 5 was able to communicate verbally, which wasn't what I expected. So 1 was able to communicate verbally, 3 had end-stage Alzheimer's, and the final person had ALS and could not verbally communicate. So again, this was not what I had expected. I had imagined sitting and listening to people and dialoguing with them. And look, I'm not saying it's about me, but this is us, right? This is the human condition of expectations of what we wanted to do. And for me, when people in that kind of state of dementia was my trigger, because both my parents had that at the end of their life. And I found that hard to offer healing with. But I said yes, and I continued to do this work. So one of the people with dementia, I found that they couldn't speak, they couldn't really move, but they suggested that I go in and sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow to them. And I said, do I really have to do that? And they said, yeah, you got to do that. I'm like, oh my God, this poor person's going to hear me sing this. And they said, sing it a few times too. So I go in, I'm singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, hoping nobody else can hear me. So I do that. The one person who could communicate verbally was amazing. I supported her. She passed pretty quickly in like a few weeks. Loved being able to support her and listen. And so I remained with these folks that had Alzheimer's, and this one woman who had ALS. And I'm going to give her the name of Jackie to protect, for her privacy. So Jackie had no control over her movements or speech, except for 3 fingers on one hand. And Jackie could communicate, but only by writing 1 letter at a time on a piece of paper. So I met Jackie, and we began the process of getting to know each other. And me by speaking, and Jackie by very slowly writing out the words 1 letter at a time. Jackie was extraordinary. She was a retired educator. She was younger than I am now. She was in her early 60s. She would write about her family. She was clearly incredibly intelligent, and had all her mental faculties were perfectly clear. She wrote about her family. She loved sports. She loved Billie Jean King and other athletes. I found out Jackie was a Roman Catholic the first time I visited her. She asked that if I could administer ashes. It was around Ash Wednesday. And I can't, and I arranged for her to have a Catholic Eucharistic minister come in and offer these ashes to her. So I was kind of clear on where she was as far as religion was concerned. And time passed. We got to know each other, her continuing to communicate the way she did, and me learning patience, because it took a long time for Jackie to express her thoughts and herself. So a few more months into volunteering with them, at around this time, I had gotten to know Jackie well, and the relationship I was in came to an end, not by my choice. And I needed a little time to process my feelings. I was upset about this. I really wasn't able to support somebody else. I had to take care of myself for a week or two. And back I came after 2 weeks, and I apologized to Jackie for not being there. And she said, I said I had to take a short hiatus, and she asked me what was going on. And I explained I was in a relationship that ended and I needed time to regroup, and she started asking me questions about the relationship. And she's asking me, and I'm dodging it and dodging it and dodging like any way I could, because I assumed that Jackie wasn't going to, was going to judge me. I assumed that she was a devout Catholic, and I just thought me being a lesbian wasn't going to roll over very well. And then finally she asked a direct question that I couldn't dodge anymore. She said, what was their name? And so I said their name was Michelle. And I waited, ready. And as she started to write, one letter at a time, and she wrote the following words. She wrote, I thought we were family. Now, if anybody understands the language of the LGBTQ or the queer community, the word family means we're the same. We're family. And I looked at her and I was shocked. I mean, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I looked at her and I said, no, you too? And she said yes. And she couldn't control her movements or her laughter or, this wasn't, she had very limited ability to control herself because of this disease. She couldn't even nod or shake her head yes or no. But as best as I could understand, she was laughing, right? And I said to her, is it the way I walked that you knew that I was family? And she laughed and I laughed, and as best as I could get that emotion from her. And she asked me more questions, and it was a really special moment that we shared. And she asked me to tell me about her, about this person and my life, and I did. And then I waited and I said, well, what about you? I said, would you like to tell me about your life? And she put down her pencil and she started, I couldn't understand exactly what was going on, but it was clear that she was crying. It was almost like a howl of pain. And then I didn't know what to do. I'm trying to console her. I could feel that this was a heart-wrenching moment. And she apologized. And she said, I'm sorry. She said, part of my disease is I cannot control my emotions. And she picked up her pencil and she slowly wrote to me about her life and her experience of love. One letter at a time. She was not with her partner anymore. And that was something of her past and something that she knew she could never experience again. Our friendship continued in a deeper way, and though I never asked her, I'm pretty sure that I was the only person that would be in a capacity of clergy that she ever came out to, that she ever had this chance to be honest and be herself. Our friendship went on as I continued to be a volunteer. Eventually they provided her a motorized wheelchair that she could run and operate with her 3 fingers. And she would insist on accompanying me to the door every time I would visit. This was a very impactful connection and moment in my life. And it gave me a moment to reflect and pause. I had felt deeply resistant to this assignment that I had received from Hospice of New Jersey. And it was not what I imagined or prepared for. But I began to look at the lessons and blessings that this experience and connection offered me. Jackie was trapped in a body that didn't allow her freedom. It was likely, as I said, that she might have been trapped as well, being a Roman Catholic lesbian, possibly not having the opportunity to be out. My heart went out to her for all those things, but I also realized in this lesson that maybe I was trapped as well. Trapped in wanting things to be the way I wanted it to be done. Trapped in still being ashamed when Jackie asked me about what relationship I was in, that I wouldn't say who I was. I was doing everything I could to not authentically say who I was. Jackie was the courageous one, not me. She was the one that came out to me. So somehow, we both ended up serving each other. And there was a lesson and a blessing, is that we were both trapped. And maybe we both opened the door to release each other and ourselves. So as we come to the close of this talk, I'd like to invite you to consider, how might you be trapped in your life? It may be subtle. You may not realize it. I know I didn't. And if you are, what is it and how does it make you feel? And what can you shift or do to think differently, to release yourself? What are the limitations that you bring to your own life? Jackie appeared to be trapped, but she rose above it. And it goes to show you, or show us, the power of spirit. Every day we have somehow a choice to be in action. For some people, the only choice is to write 1 letter at a time. What's your choice? May we all find our way out from what entraps us, and may we all find our power and our freedom. May it be so.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.